Two Knights and Maidens wouldn't have been a single, right, off the album. It's definitely an album track. At that particular point in time, we were at Royal Studios, which was the old, just outside of Lake Geneva, and it was owned by Hugh Hefner. It was the Playboy Resort at one point in time. Now it was just a golf course resort hotel, but the studio was still there. And a fellow by the name of Dan Harjung, and I can't remember the other fellow's name. I apologize for that to him. But Dan Harjung and this fellow were the owners of the studio, and Dan was the main engineer. And there was another engineer there by the name of Pat Murphy, who I felt in a lot of cases, especially from the drum perspective, Pat was he got it. He knew when I was talking drum sounds, or when I was like, he just knew what I was talking about, and he just got it. So I used every possible opportunity to record with Pat. And the problem that presented itself with this particular song was that I didn't want it to come across as like we're trying to be sophisticated jazz bows, right? Because it's in 6/8, and it's got nice changes and everything else. But we didn't want it to be jazz bows. But I also didn't want it to be paint by numbers. Right. I wanted it to feel like it was an accessible commercial song, but that we kind of colored outside the lines with it. That's really what I wanted it to feel like. And I didn't want it to be playerly, if you know what I mean by that. But I also didn't want it to be programmed. Like, I just didn't want it to feel like it was a thing. But I wanted it, as a drummer, to be able to just step outside, boom chuck, boom chuck. So Pat,
there were some good hi-hat syncopations that happened during that song in particular, which I always appreciate. So yeah.
It was fun. It was really that song was just fun to play, like, all the way along. And of course, because it's one of those songs, right? Record company wasn't crazy about it. It wasn't going to be a release and all that kind of stuff. So Pat really figured out, he knew what I was going for. And so we went into the studio, and I remember he had the kit was so well mic'd. It was amazing. And he had taken a piano stool and put it in front of the bass drum. And then he had taken movers blankets, and he had made like a tunnel. So my bass drum essentially was a 20-inch bass drum, and it was probably 6 feet long. It was just a big long tube. And I think he mic'd it at 2 points, and then he mic'd it from the back. Had mics out in the room. There probably must have been like 24 mics live in the room while we recorded that thing. And it's because he was trying to catch the nuances just beyond kick, snare, hat, toms. He really tried to get lots of room in there. Which I think he did successfully. It took a long time, though, because we were constantly moving mics inches and creating this long tunnel and trying to figure out where the best kick drum sound was going to be. And I think we swapped out 5 or 6 different snares, right? So it's a lot of playing with the track, and then swap out the snare, play with the track again, swap out the snare. Now, the more you play something, the more unimaginative it gets in that realm. Because there's parameters that you have to stick to, because regardless of whatever it is, we're still trying to be commercially accessible. So the spontaneity of hey, let's try this, or let's do that, or that energy that you have in the first couple of takes starts to disintegrate pretty quickly. So as a bass drum, and go through that, and then let's play this thing, and then let's swap out this snare, and then what about what if we put a couple of splash cymbals over here instead, and this cymbal is kind of, I don't know if it's got the right tone for it, so let's swap that out. That's also the problem of showing up with too many instruments at the because you're swapping things out. The whole day goes by and you're still playing the same song. So I really I was worried that we were going to lose that that thing.
Yeah.
And at one point, Pat just said, "You know what? I'm just going to push record and go.
Cool.
We're just gonna record it. I'm not listening to it. Just go."
Yeah.
And I really I had to stop and think. Like I've just played this thing 50 times. Can I just go? And I did I just went. And Pat came on. I think we did 3 takes, and Pat said, "Really, in my opinion, any of the 3 are great."